based on your experience now, because you've been an entrepreneur since before you graduated, and you've gone through the hiring phase multiple times. A lot of people associate great talent with a very hefty paycheck that is usually asked for in the negotiation phase. But that's not always the case. So how are you able to sort through the crowd? Obviously, there's nothing such as 100% accuracy or 100% success rate. But how do you do that? And in the long run, look back and say, yeah, I think we've nailed down our hiring process. What do you look for in people?
Well, honestly, it sounds like cliche and it's very hard to actually pin down, but it's a lot more the attitude of the person. So and I've done a lot of hiring mistakes. Some of them were costly. Some of them were just simply, too early as well. And some of them were just plain wrong, saying, I had the wrong gut feeling about this, or I had the right gut feeling, and then eventually the gut feeling was wrong in the first place. But actually, specifically, if I look at a certain pattern, a lot of it is the attitude, which is very, very difficult to find in the initial interview. And when I'm talking attitude, I'm talking asking key questions that are about the person. So what do you want out of this? And this is a question I ask so many times, and almost to everybody, especially if they're a key hire, to just simply say, okay, hopefully, we grow together and we work fantastic for the next 4, 5, 6 years. What do you want to do after this job?
Interesting.
What do you want to do after this job? Because our company is going to be a springboard for you. It's amazing if we end up being, 15, 20 years together. But realistically, we're both too young for this. So we're not going to be here, nor am I, a government or a corporate that I'm going to keep my employees for 15, 20 years. So I'm eventually just a springboard for you. And hopefully that springboard is 4 or 5 years in which, it's mutual beneficial for both. But eventually, where do you want to be through me? And that's very difficult for a lot of people to answer. Very difficult for a lot of people to answer. But someone who comes in with a plan, they say, I plan to be, the best product manager out there. I plan to be, sales, and I want to eventually get into corporate sales and so on and so forth. They know where they want to be. They're just not there yet. It's a beautiful answer. But also at the same time, a lot of the times, if they are, either stuttering or not sure or giving an average answer as well, it's perfectly fine to not be sure. But then that you're taking on someone that you need to teach. And the most ideal people that I've worked with are the ones who you would just say, we need this to be done by Thursday. And they probably went through hell to get it done by Thursday. And they had so many problems, but they came back and sorted out themselves. And they said, it's done. And, these are the type of reliable people that you can really, really grow. And you need them desperately in the first few years or in the first few months of starting a company in itself, because you have little time to babysit. You're anyway working on so many different things at the same time. But those people that will eventually, take on the responsibility and ideally even create opportunity. So take on a responsibility and create opportunity will just free up so much of your mind as a founder. And this is where the role of either a co-founder, and a lot of co-founders, they come later, by the way. So there's always a founder and then a second co-founder joins later, or someone who joins a year later and they call them a third co-founder and so on and so forth. And it joins exactly the same. So
I'm curious, these individuals that are coming in, they're ambitious, they know their value, and they know that you've chosen them because they're focused, they're good, they deliver on time. Out of curiosity, do these people usually ask for more money as a salary, or are they more of long-term thinkers and say, hey, maybe we can discuss the compensation package, include a little bit of equity, or maybe I'll start a little bit slow. Once we take off in a year and a half, we'll go through serious renegotiations of the salary contract. So how has it worked based on your experience?
So, from my experience, the younger ones, they don't know their own value yet. They don't know their own value yet. And in our company today and the previous ones as well, we've had interns that jumped quadrupled their salary within a year. Because you raise money. You're starting very low anyway. But when you raise money, you have those funds. It's much better to invest in the people you want to keep and give that value in terms of the input that they're giving you, better than going to hire more. This is what I believe. So I would much rather elevate who I have to get them into, a phase where they see that, okay, now we've raised. This means, we can afford to keep our team happy, to give them appreciation, than to spend it on an expensive new hire. This is, typically how I see it myself. But eventually, is it directly related to the salary? I don't see a pattern that I've seen in which this person is very reliable, but they're demanding 20,000, 30,000, and so on and so forth. Obviously, with few exceptions. Few exceptions is when it's in the growth phase and when they come recommended.
Okay.
So the recommendation is very key, because we have a lot of entrepreneurship groups or organizations, and it's always in the circles. I'm at the growth phase where right now I need someone to just help me fly. I need to go from 10 clients to 100 clients very fast. Who do you know? And these questions, they fly all around. And whether people that I worked with before or I'm working with now, I definitely know who I need to keep on the ship and who I need to call when I get into that phase. And it's the same that you can share with someone else, especially if it's people that you parted ways with because maybe I left or because they had to leave the company. Certainly recommendation goes a long way in that regard. And good people cost money. Good people cost money.